Deep in southern India, you can find the ruins of a city that was once said to be as magnificent as Rome. This was the capital of a really powerful empire that dominated the region for over 200 years. So today, we're going to dive into the incredible story of the Vijayanagara Empire.
I mean, just look at this gateway. It's absolutely stunning. It's a silent reminder of a civilization that's long gone. You have to wonder, right? What kind of power could build something on this scale, and what on earth happened to it? Well, let's find out.
The answer? This was the Empire of Vijayanagara. And that name is perfect because it literally means City of Victory. For centuries, it totally lived up to that name. It was a bustling, powerful, and victorious heart of South Indian culture.
All right, so how did this mighty empire even get started? Well, its story begins way back in the 14th century, which was a time of, huge political change all across the Indian subcontinent.
Now, tradition tells us, and inscriptions back it up, that the whole thing was founded in 1336 by a pair of brothers, Harihara and Bukka. These two laid the foundation for a state that would pretty quickly grow to control a massive territory, bringing together all sorts of people with different languages and traditions under one rule.
And here's a really cool detail. While historians call the empire Vijayanagara, the people who lived nearby had another name for the ruined city, Hampi. The name comes from the local mother goddess, Pampa Devi. It's just a fascinating peek into how an empire's memory can survive in local stories long after it's gone.
Of course, Vijayanagara wasn't just sitting there by itself. It was a major player in a pretty complex Game of Thrones, ruled by a series of different dynasties and always competing for power with its ambitious neighbors. You see, over its couple of centuries of rule, power in Vijayanagara changed hands between 4 different dynasties. It started with the Sangama dynasty, the one founded by our guys Harihara and Bukka. Then came the Saluvas, who were basically powerful military commanders that took over, and they were followed by the Tuluvas. And finally, after the empire's peak, the Aravidu dynasty held on until the 17th century.
And this table perfectly sums up the competition back then. The rulers of Vijayanagara, who called themselves Rayas, were constantly at odds with the Gajapati rulers of Orisha and the sultans of the Deccan. They were all fighting over the best river valleys and trade routes. And their titles say it all, really. The Gajapatis were the lords of elephants, the sultans were the lords of horses, and the Vijayanagara Rayas, they proudly called themselves Narapati, the lords of men.
Okay, let's turn to the empire's golden age. Under the Tuluva dynasty, and one ruler in particular, Vijayanagara reached the absolute height of its power and prosperity.
And that ruler was the great Krishnadevaraya. His reign was just one military success after another. He took control of the strategic Raichur Doab, he humbled the Gajapatis of Orissa, and he soundly defeated the Sultan of Bijapur. But he wasn't just a warrior king, he was also a massive builder, credited with constructing these magnificent temples with their incredible gopurams. You know, those huge, ornate gateways that are a signature of South Indian temples. He even founded a whole new township named after his mother.
So what was his capital city actually like? Well, we are so lucky because we have vivid, first-hand accounts from foreign travelers. A Portuguese traveler named Domingo Paes was just completely blown away. He famously said its size and beauty reminded him of Rome, and described this sprawling city filled with groves and gardens and lakes.
And another traveler, Fernão Nunes, gives us a sense of just how prosperous the city was. He wrote that the markets were just overflowing with all kinds of fruits and produce, and everything was super cheap. I mean, that tells you they had a really well-supplied, thriving economy supporting a huge population.
So the big question is, how did the Rayas protect all that wealth and control such a massive empire? Well, the key was their pretty innovative military and political system.
It was called the Amara-Nayaka system, and it was one of the empire's most important political innovations. Historians think it was probably adapted from a system that the Delhi Sultanate used up north. It just goes to show you how ideas and ways of running things could travel and get transformed.
So how did it work? It was actually pretty clever. The king, or Raya, would give territories to his military commanders, who were called Amara-Nayakas. These commanders would then collect taxes from everyone in their territory. They got to keep a part of it for themselves, and, this is the crucial part, they used the rest to maintain an army of troops, horses, and elephants. This system basically gave the kings a powerful, ready-made fighting force all across the southern peninsula.
But as those ruins tell us, this glorious city, well, it wasn't meant to last. After Krishnadevaraya died, cracks started to show up in the empire's foundation, and it all led to a really fast and brutal collapse. The year everything changed was 1565. This date, right here, it marks the turning point, the moment the City of Victory faced its final, crushing defeat.
It all went down at the Battle of Talikota. The chief minister, Raya, led the Vijayanagara army against a combined force of the Deccan sultans. In one massive battle, the Vijayanagara forces were completely wiped out. The alliance of sultans who used to be rivals had teamed up to take down their common enemy.
And what happened next was just a catastrophe. The winning armies swarmed the capital city and completely sacked it. This once thriving metropolis, the city they compared to Rome, was plundered and destroyed. And within just a few years, it was totally abandoned, left to crumble into ruin.
For centuries, the city was basically lost to the wider world, with its history just living on in local memory. It wasn't until the early 1800s that it was sort of rediscovered, and that's thanks to guys like Colin Mackenzie. He was an engineer and the first Surveyor General of India, and he painstakingly surveyed the ruins, collected local stories, and started the long process of piecing together the story of this forgotten empire.
And this brings us right back to where we started, standing among those ruins. The story of Vijayanagara is just such a powerful reminder that even the mightiest empires can fall. I mean, how could a center of so much power and wealth, a city of victory, be so completely destroyed that it's almost erased from memory? It's a question that really makes you think about the fragile nature of power, of history, and what we all choose to remember.